I am Rabbi W. Jack Romberg. I worked as a rabbi for about 2 decades in the capital of Florida, in Tallahassee, Florida, in the congregation there. That has tremendous meaning because actually there are family members that were killed during the Shoah, during the Holocaust. And they may not have been departed right, on that date in October that you're, you know, talking about. But for example, Heinrich Stern, Uncle Richard's older brother, he escaped originally to Belgium, but then he was captured by the German army, the Nazi party, and eventually he was killed in Auschwitz, as well as his wife and his daughter, all killed in Auschwitz. Well, I grew up knowing that my family was from Germany because both of my parents were refugees, Jewish refugees from Germany. Their whole families were refugees from Germany. My mom coming in 1936, my dad coming in 1939. And as I grew up as a little kid, uh, Uncle Richard Stern, was the person who raised my dad, and he looked at dad as his son, and he looked at me and my brothers as his grandchildren. No, in the 1960s, it was not very common for parents or grandparents from Germany or from Europe in general to talk to their children. I'm talking about, Jewish, families. It was not common for them to talk to children or grandchildren about what they went through in Europe during the 30s or 40s. So it was more as when I got a little bit older, as I got to be about 12, 13, getting ready for my bar mitzvah, that's when I started to learn a lot more about, first of all, about the Holocaust and about what was going on. And I happened to then see a book that my father had that was in German, and it's a history book about Jews in Cologne. And in there, I saw the picture of Uncle Richard standing in his doorway, and, next to the SA soldier. And I had no idea what this was about. And I started to ask my dad about this. And again, I was maybe 11, 12 years old, something like that, that I saw that. I had been contacted by a survivor of the Romberg family, somebody who would have been my dad's first cousin. I had no idea any of these people existed. My dad probably had no idea these people existed because the Stearns kept him away from being connected to the Romberg family. His father, Walter Romberg, was one of 13 siblings, and I had no idea of that. So finding a number of those siblings who did survive, I got a lot of interesting stories from them about what their parents did, how they got out of Germany, or also stories about those that never made out of Germany and got killed. So, for example, one of the Romberg family members was a very active member of the Democratic Party, the SDP, in Germany, and he still was active in 36, trying to be active in 36 against the Nazis, and he was killed because of that. So I learned that. Unfortunately, when I was touring around Cologne, the Marzelstein place that was destroyed by bombing it toward, in World War II. So I couldn't see that one. I did enjoy going into Runstrasse Synagogue because my family, the Stern family, were members of that for a long time. And I just really enjoyed going through the Runstrasse Synagogue and seeing it, knowing that my dad actually, after Kristallnacht, dad had to go in there as one of the teenagers that were forced to clean things up and take care of things. And one of the things he had to do was clean up the destroyed ark for the Torah. And so it was very interesting for me to go into the sanctuary and see the new ark kind of. So that was very, very meaningful too. And I just realized that I needed to do something to to keep Uncle Richard's story available to people. It's too relevant. It's way too relevant to people today in terms of understanding how you stand up for things, how you should act as a human being. Well, I think the most intriguing is his standing up and and protesting on April 1st of 1933. While I, as a child, admired him as an American hero, because I loved following those things as a kid, on TV and whatnot. And when I saw that Uncle Richard, had been a hero for the American Army, and you know, Dad had showed me the articles from New York newspapers and so forth, and that was great. But as an adult, I felt that his standing up to protest the Nazi, attack against Jewish stores, the boycott of Jewish businesses, and his bravery to stand up next to that SA soldier, that just struck me as something very important. And why is it important? Because in America, for example, we still have to support African Americans, black people who are still they're still experiencing oppression by large numbers of other Americans. And how Uncle Richard stood up not just for the Jewish people but for civil rights is an important lesson to teach the rest of us here in America about how we should be standing up for human rights and for people who are getting oppressed. In growing up, it seemed that our family was very, very small. And having now connection to more family has felt really, really good. And some of that family has been part of my life now, as since 2011 and 2013 when I met them. It's just was really great to get them as part of my life. Very important to me. So then in getting to know Romberg, the Romberg family, as well as I have gotten to know them so far, there are numerous members who were deported or at some point sent to one of the either sent to one of the concentration camps, so or one of the ghettos. So the story of members of the family is they're different stories of different members of the family. Some of them made it to America, some of them somehow survived in Germany, and some of them were captured and killed. So it's a very wide range. And yes, I think that understanding the Shoah, understanding what happened, understanding how important it is for people to go against this and to understand it's so important to learn this. It's so important to learn about this.